and it was an interesting time. She is very much like, I am not ashamed of my body, and I love that. I hated him at first. I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say. I am finally in my Shatter Me era. It's time. So really, it's up to the Livy gods to determine what other books I will be reading in March. Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Elise. I'm glad you stopped in, and if you're not new, welcome back. It's great to see you again. Today I want to talk about the books I read in February, plus some March hopefuls and plans for reading in March. Stick around if that sounds interesting to you. Before I get started, I would love to know your favorite genre or genres that you prefer to read. Right now, I am in my romance and romantasy era, for sure. Okay, let's get started with the books I read in February. So first things first, let's talk about these 4 books. I actually read these in a reading vlog, so I'm not going to go too into detail about them. I read As Old as Time by Liz Braswell, Happy Place by Emily Henry, Bear With Me Now by Katie Shepherd, and The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. You can check out that video. It should be up now or next week. I'll link it here and down below. I read books that I have been avoiding finally. And it was an interesting time. So I'm gonna let you watch that vlog if you're interested in my thoughts. They are spoiler free. Except for Bear With Me Now, there is a little portion that's spoiler, but I do warn you about that so that you can skip and avoid that if you want. The next book that I read is an ebook called The Fastest Way to Fall by Denise Williams. This was such a pleasant surprise. I really enjoyed it. It's contemporary romance about a woman who is fat, and she is a journalist who is in the beauty and athleisure industry. So her company wants her to do a bit where she is working and using a new fitness app. So she gets a coach, she's starting on this journey. Little does she know that the CEO ends up being her coach. This is not a spoiler, it's in the synopsis. Little does he know that she's like using and rating his app. They kind of develop this unexpected friendship. That part is really sweet, but what I really loved about this story is just our main female character's journey with her body. She is very much like, I am not ashamed of my body, and I love that, but I also loved her slowly growing to feel stronger and like more proud of her body and just how good she felt without focusing on weight. He's also very not focused on her fitness journey being about losing weight. It's about making her feel better and stronger, and I just loved seeing that in fiction because I see it sometimes in real life but not enough, and I never see that in fiction. So it's just a really great way that the author framed this, you know, focus of the story, and I loved that. Our main male character is a cinnamon roll. There is a lot of tension and slow burn that is very worth it in the end. It is a little bit spicy, and I enjoyed this book. I ended up reading it in 2 days. Next we have Sky in the Deep. This was actually part of my read or bust for 2023. I finally got to it. I ended up listening to it on audiobook and physically reading it tandem. The narrator is excellent. Highly recommend her. And I didn't realize this. I totally forgot, but I got this from an Owl Crate box forever and a half ago, and it's a signed edition. How cool is that? I ended up really enjoying it. It was a lot more violent and gruesome than I had initially imagined, especially for a young adult book. It is very graphic. Check the trigger warnings. But the writing was so atmospheric. My heart just cried for our main character, Elin. Oh my gosh, that poor girly pop, but she has so much rage and just so much loyalty. She definitely got her world just flipped upside down. I really ended up enjoying this book. It was a little bit tough to get into because of how violent it is, especially like right from the get-go, but I ended up really enjoying it. It was definitely worth it. So I don't know if the synopsis makes it obvious that it is a bit of a romance, more like a subplot of romance, but there is a little bit there. And so our main male interest, or like the romantic interest, I hated him at first, and I did not see any way that he could redeem himself by the end of this book, and by the end of the book I ended up loving him. But that first half, I was just like, how dare he? There's no coming back from this. And then at the end, I was like, okay. So if you like that kind of book, I recommend it. Okay, I know this is random. I know it was February, but I read The Santa Suit by Mary Kay Andrews. Are you focused on me or are you focused on my books? I swear. I'm in this phase where I am borrowing all of the audiobooks off of Libby of books that I already own and haven't read. So this was one of them and this was available and I listened to it and it was adorable. I had such a good time even though it's Christmas themed. Very sweet and wholesome. This story is about a woman who is kind of trying to start over after a big divorce and buys this little old farm in this pretty small town, and it's just like sight unseen basically. There's still all this stuff in there. And she finds this Christmas suit with a letter in it and wants to find the owner and see what happened, if everyone's okay, and things like that. In the process, her realtor is very helpful because, you know, it is sight unseen. It's not really what she thought. And, you know, it's a small town. And he's kind of enamored with her pretty quickly and is very much like, I'm interested in you. Like, will you let me take you on a date? And she's like, I'm not sure, like, I don't think that's a good idea. And he's like, okay. And then he's very helpful. And then eventually she's like, okay. And it's just sweet. It's just really found family. It's pretty short. I'll be keeping that book to reread during Christmas. I finally finished the original Inheritance Games trilogy. I know there are more books now. Not my favorite. Loved the first one. The second one was a close second. Really enjoyed it, but this one just felt a bit forced. The stakes were elevated, but they just felt like they were elevated for the sake of elevating them. And then there is an additional character, a new character, and not my favorite person, and there was also just a lot of mistrust going on in this story, which I felt like Avery didn't deserve. We also learn a lot more about Tobias Hawthorne, the original person who brought this whole story together, the man who died and left his fortune to Avery. And that wasn't my favorite. Not surprising, but it wasn't my favorite either. So, I don't know. I'm still super glad I read the series. Had a really fun time, but this one didn't do it for me. But I am excited to read the Hawthorne brothers, and I think The Grandest Game is coming out later this year, so I will be reading those. This book. I was really nervous to read it because The Soulmate Equation is like one of my favorite books ever. I also really loved Fizzy in that book, and I was just scared that this wouldn't live up to the hype. It did. It lived up to the hype. I also tandem listened to this and read it physically, and the narrators are amazing. There are some scenes. I re-listened to a few scenes. So I can't wait to go back and annotate this. I got really nervous because I wasn't sure how they were going to pull everything off. And I was very happy with how they pulled everything off. I was very satisfied. I loved it. I never should have doubted. Next is Evie, Drake Starts Over by Linda Holmes. I actually had this on my 23 and 2023 video. Did I finish it in 2023? No, but it was close, kind of. I also tandem listened and read this. It was cute, wholesome, very low stakes, which I appreciated. Evie just got over her husband's death. However, her husband is not a nice person, but no one in the town knows this except really for her. So everyone is, you know, stricken with grief, and she feels guilty because she's not. Then her best friend has a friend who needs to escape from New York. He is a professional baseball player and has the yips, which is just like this mysterious, out of nowhere, he can no longer pitch. So he wants to get away and escape and just recover. He moves in and they become roommates. And it's just kind of this journey of them becoming friends, of dealing with their grief and their, you know, situations. So it was really cute and wholesome. It was fine. Then I read With Any Luck by Ashley Poston. This is part of the Improbable Meet Cute series put on by Amazon. I listened and read the ebook, and not my favorite. It was very The Hangover vibes. I don't really have much else to say about that one. Honestly, this month was just determined by the Libby holds that came in, honestly, because let's see, 8 of the books this month I read because my Libby hold on the audiobook finally came in. So Libby has me in a chokehold right now. So the next book I read was Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. This was cute. I really enjoyed the first half of this book. It was so enjoyable, and then after that it kind of lost its steam for me. Their excuse for not being together at that point was a little silly to me, and like they both felt unnecessary guilt for that situation, and then the steamy scenes weren't it for me in this book. I've read Tessa Bailey before and I've really enjoyed some of those scenes. I think this situation, I just lost steam and I kind of got the ick, and it just, you know, after the half mark it was just okay, but I still really enjoyed it. I'm glad I read it. I had a good time. I had some good laughs in this story. Very grumpy sunshine, kind of misunderstood male main character. I just loved the chaos that Hallie brought to his life. She really is a sweet main character, and I really appreciated that. Like a through and through sunny character. I liked her struggles that she was going through because she recently lost someone in her family and was kind of struggling with finding structure in her life. Anyway, there were some really good parts to this book. Wasn't my favorite, but I'm still really glad that I read it. Next I read Same Time Next Summer by Annabelle Monaghan. Again, this was another audiobook hold that finally came in. Short, sweet, atmospheric, a very solid 4 stars. If you love summer, you love the beach, this one is for you. So this story is about a family who would move out to Long Island for the summer, and then they lived in New York during the rest of the year. And their neighbor, she was best friends. Very Every Summer After vibes. If you enjoyed that book, they end up separating, right? And you know, we come to the present and we very slowly find out why. And I appreciated their reason for separating, like what caused them to separate at that time. I mean, I don't appreciate it, but their reactions felt reasonable, and it wasn't I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say. Their reason for splitting when they were younger made sense to me. It caused let's just say there are other reasons for people breaking up that I cannot stand, and that wasn't present. I don't know. I enjoyed it. A very solid 4 stars. Very atmospheric. I totally guessed the ending and I saw that coming, but it didn't really bother me. It did kind of feel silly that it took so long for the ending to happen, but it also made sense, so it was enjoyable. Then I read Rosie and the Dreamboat by Sally Thorne. This is also part of the Improbable Meet Cute series. I listened to the audio mostly, and you guys, I know this was hit or miss for some people, but I loved it so much. I enjoyed the humor. Like, everyone's humor is different, and Rosie's humor might not be for everyone, but I loved that her fireman just understood her and their humor clicked, and they were able to have that bond by the end of the short story that just made sense. Some of the other short stories, the couples get together and I'm just like, why? But in this one, to me, it made sense, and it was just really cute. I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend listening to the audio for that one if you have the opportunity. Then I also read Worst Wingman Ever by Abby Jimenez, also part of the Improbable Meet Cute series. I really enjoyed this. This one had a little bit more of a melancholic vibe. Our main character is struggling with someone in her family who is having health issues, and so there was that seriousness to it, but I enjoyed the meet cute between the main characters, and I like our male love interest. I thought it was really sweet and it kind of made sense. I just love how it all worked out. It was really cute. Then I read Drop Cover and Hold On by Jasmine Guillory, also part of the Improbable Meet Cute series. This one was not for me. I did not really enjoy our main female character at all. Some of the things she said just didn't really make sense to me. Why she would say them maybe needed a little more internal thought so that I could understand where she was coming from. I liked the concept of it, but the execution just was not my favorite. Look at all these books I read from my physical TBR with the help of Libby audiobooks. I'm so proud of myself. Also, February is the shortest month of the year. How did I read 16 books? Although 4 of those were very short novellas. So I don't know if you can see, but over here in this back corner, yeah, you can totally see. My whole body's not covering it. What, Elise? Ah! No. We are not gonna do that. Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, down here I have a stack of books. That is the books I read this year. I'm trying to keep them in order because I am making a book blanket where I crochet one row in a color that matches the book cover. So I'm trying to keep them in order. Then Evie Drake, then Secretly Yours, then Bear With Me Now, Same Time Next Summer, Spanish Love Deception. Let's talk about the books I want to read in March. First things first, I am currently reading Now Is Not the Time to Panic by Kevin Wilson, my Libby audiobook called came in, so I am getting a chance to finally read it. I am currently about 87 pages in and it's pretty cute, pretty quirky. It does have similar vibes to Nothing to See Here, but without the magical realism. It has to do with these 2 teens, but we're mainly focused on our main character, Frankie. She makes a friend, Zeke, over the summer of her teenage years, and they're just not really into partying, not really into a lot of other things that teens are, and they make this unlikely friendship and decide to focus on art. I guess one of their art pieces kind of goes viral in a way, and the whole town starts to talk and be a buzz about this art piece. Come to now when Frankie is an adult and she gets a call from a journalist and is like, I think you started this this uprising, this movement, and I want to talk to you about it. So the concept is really interesting. I'm kind of to the part where they're talking about the art and it's kind of starting to get momentum, so I'm really curious to see what happens after that, what comes of it, and how she's going to handle it in the present. I am finally in my Shatter Me era. My friend Autumn and another friend are reading the Shatter Me series. We are doing a buddy read. We already read the first book before I'm even filming this, so that's why I'm bringing out Ignite Me. Wait, where is Unravel Me? Oh, there it is. Sorry, excuse me. So these are the 3 that I want to focus on in March. I think we're probably going to end up reading Unravel Me, the next novella, which I got the short story collection, and then Ignite Me, and we'll probably read the rest of them in April. I'm thinking at the pace that we're going. This is part of the Shatter Me series by Tahara Mafi. It's dystopian / fantasy. This world is dying and there's an organization called the Reestablishment that is trying to take over and pretty much like brainwash the rest of civilization into doing exactly what they want, but really what they're doing is just like controlling them and not really giving back anything to them. So very interesting. Our main female character has this sort of power. When she touches people, things happen. So we're exploring her power, we're getting to know more about the Reestablishment. So it's really interesting. I'm really enjoying it so far, and I'm excited to continue the series. Next we have Darkness of Dragons, which is the 10th book in the Wings of Fire series. I'm currently about 30% of the way through this book. I'm enjoying it so far, but I just put it down so that I could keep up with my buddy reads and my Libby holds and stuff like that. So the way that this series works is there's like 5 books to a series, and then, you know, kind of a spin-off series with the next 5 books and another spin-off series with the next 5 books. So this is the second spin-off series, and I can tell it's going to be one of the best from that little set of books. I've really enjoyed this main character. His name is Quibbly. He's really clever, so I'm enjoying his backstory and getting to know him. The next book that I want to finally read, I know I had this in my February TBR, but it's for sure happening in March, and that is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. This is a second chance friends to lovers romance. I've heard wonderful things about it. It's time. Next we have Butcher and Blackbird by Brynn Weaver. This is a very interesting story about two serial killers who are good friends and then also have a romance, but they're serial killers of bad people. I don't know. I hear it's weird. I hear it's sexy and gory and funny and a weird concept, but like really well done. So I've heard great things. I'm excited to read it. Also on my February TBR, also definitely happening in March. So very excited for that. It's gonna be a good time. This woman, Elsie, fake dates men, but like on purpose, like for a profit. And so she ends up fake dating his brother, Jack, I think is his name. And then of course there's a STEM element, probably of course because it's Allie Hazelwood, there's some sort of like misunderstanding and miscommunication. I'm excited to read this. Then we have Rough Waters, From Surviving to Thriving with a Progressive Muscular Dystrophy by Heather C. Markham. This was a gifted copy to me by PR by the Books, and I'm finally gonna get to it. I'm very excited. I've not been on my game with my nonfiction reads. I've been trying to do like one a month, but I am failing because this will be my first one of the year. The title kind of says it all. It's about a woman, Heather C. Markham. It's her memoir about her journey from just everyday life to learning that she has muscular dystrophy and how she is continuing with life and the things she's learned and kind of what she's accomplished since developing muscular dystrophy and just deciding that it's not going to control her life. I follow her on Instagram and she seems really cool. Then we have Sizzle Reel by Carlin Greenwald. This I hear is kind of bi panic about an aspiring cinematographer in college or just after college. So it sounds like she's trying to get away from a tough situation. She's also grappling with her sexual identity and, you know, some bi panics. These two work together, her as a cinematographer and her as a star in what she's directing. Then we have The Gunkle by Stephen Rowley. I'm actually going to the TLA conference next month, so the Texas Library Association conference. I am going to an event where Stephen Rowley is going to be present, so I'm trying to pick up his books so that I can read his stuff before I get to meet him. Very exciting. This is a contemporary book about a man whose sibling, one of the siblings, dies in a tragic car accident and has left their two kids behind, and he becomes their guardian. And so it kind of chronicles his journey of having no experience with kids, having never expected this. His whole world is turned upside down, and just like, you know, learning and grappling and kid things and stuff like that. I'm excited to read this. Y'all, this is finally freaking happening. It's done. It needs to be done. I need to finish this series, and that is the Kissction series by Helen Hung. If you're new to my channel, I ironically read the second and third book first, even though this is the first book in the series, so I need to read the first book to finish the series. Apparently Stella has Asperger's. The idea of like kissing people or like being intimate with people is just like absolutely not. She wants to practice, and so she hires an escort, Michael Fan, who looks like a K-drama star. He is helping her to learn, I guess, how to be intimate. I read the first chapter and it's like hysterical, and I don't know why I keep putting it off. It's happening. Okay, next is going to be Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree because my Libby hold just came in. So I'm going to be listening to it on audio while I physically read it. I had a really good time reading Legends and Lattes, so I'm excited to be back in this world. I don't own this or have it yet physically, but hopefully next is going to be Ready Player 2 by Ernest Cline. This is another author that is going to be at the TLA conference that I'm going to get a chance to meet. I have read Ready Player 1 and really enjoyed it, so I'm hoping to read Ready Player 2 just to have more of this author's work under my belt so that I have more to talk to him about or understand what he's talking about during the conference. The next few books are a little bit up in the air. It's really going to be up to Libby to determine which books I may or may not read the rest of this month. So let's look and see what Libby holds are going to be coming in soon. Okay, first we have The Book Thief. That one could be coming in soon. Then we have Eleanor of or I don't know why I always say Opheliant, but it's Eleanor Oliphant. I've literally called it Opheliant for years and years and years, and probably several other times on this channel. Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine. We also have The Bookish Life of Nina Hill coming in soon. We also have Between Shades of Grey coming in soon. So really, it's up to the Libby gods to determine what other books I will be reading in March. I'm really excited for March. I feel like I had a really good reading month in February, balanced between books that I wanted to read and books that I was reading for videos. And I feel like that's the same case for March. I have a lot of books coming in, like with my Libby holds that I'm excited to read, but I also have quite a few books on this TBR specifically for videos that are secret right now. I'm not going to tell you what those books are or what those videos and challenges are. Hopefully, if you stick around, you will see them in the near future. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel if you made it this far. I have a lot of really fun videos coming up in the near future I'm very, very excited and proud about. So I hope that you'll stick around and check them out. Hopefully I'll see you again soon. I hope you're doing well whenever and wherever you're watching this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye everyone.